All right, looking at understanding the relationship of domain and range in terms of a function. So we're thinking about these vocabulary words right here. What is a domain and what is a range in terms of the function? So here's our function, here's our story, and we're going to think about what our domain and range is, okay? Suppose the function E of C represents the earnings of a volleyball team from selling cupcakes. The team has 200 total cupcakes and are selling them for $1.75 a piece. Describe an appropriate domain and range of this function. You can describe by sketching a graph, creating a table of values. Be sure to explain your reasoning. Okay, so we've got this function and we're going to call it E of C. So E must be standing for our earnings. And C is standing for the number of cupcakes sold. And first thing that I would think about before I can really think about domain and range is I want to put this function together and make the equation for it. So I would say E of C is equal to, and there's a couple different ways you could do this. We do need to think about that we have 200 total cupcakes and that our earnings is $1.75 a piece. I'm going to say it's $1.75 times the number of cupcakes that I sell. So that would be our function rule right there. So thinking about with a table, our table of values are going to start out with our number of cupcakes, and there's our earnings as a function of cupcakes. If I have sold 0 cupcakes, then I have $0 that I've earned. I'm just going to bring my calculator over here so I can start to type some stuff in here. If I sell 10 cupcakes, then I make $17.50. What about if I sold 50 cupcakes? I make $87.50. And then if I sell 100 cupcakes, then I make $175. Okay. I can continue this. If I sell 200 cupcakes, then I'm going to make $350. Okay. What happens after this is if I were to say I'm going to sell 250 cupcakes, then I'm going to make $437.50. But we have a problem because I don't have 250 cupcakes. I only have 200 cupcakes. Okay, so if we go back to domain, I'm going to highlight that in yellow, and I'm going to highlight my range in orange. And if I were to say to you, what's my reasonable domain in terms of the function, this function is talking about that we only have 200 total cupcakes. So our reasonable domain starts at 0 and ends at 200. All of those are reasonable domains, okay? So when you write that, you're going to say if our cupcake is our domain, then you're going to see that as 0 is less than or equal to C, which is less than or equal to 200. Okay? And we're going to make sense of what this says. So this is our domain. And what that's saying is the number of cupcakes that I'm going to sell has to be greater than or equal to 0, but it has to be less than or equal to 200. Okay? I can't sell 201 cupcakes because I don't have 201 cupcakes. Now I can do the math and I can figure out how much I would make if I had 250 cupcakes, but I don't. I only have 0 through 200. So the domain for this situation is only to 200. Okay? The range is your output. And so if the domain can only go to 200, then our range can only go to 200. Okay? And so what you end up there with is your range is E needs to be less than or equal to 350, but E has to be greater than or equal to 0. That means your earnings is going to be somewhere between 0 and $350. Okay? I want to show you what this looks like on a graph because it's important to understand it with the graph. So if I were to sketch this, this is E, this is C, this is cupcakes, this is earnings. And I'm just going to sketch something that, obviously I don't have a scale here going on because I don't have graph paper. This is 0, 0, right? There's the origin. And I'm going to say this is 50 cupcakes, 100, 150, 200, 250, and so on. Okay, looks like I'm going to be needing to go up into my words there. This point right here is where the reasonable domain stops because the math or the graph line is going to continue, but we know that we only have 200 total cupcakes. So we know that our domain only goes from here to here. Okay, there's your domain. And so this would be your range. And this point right here would be 350 because we found that out using the table. So 0 to 350. So remember, our math will continue, but it only makes sense for a certain portion. I don't have negative cupcakes, and I don't have negative earnings in this situation.